All right, welcome to the official Catchup Lowland League edition. This week we have Mozza. How you doing, Mozza?
I'm very good, mate. How's you?
Can't complain. Sunday, back to work tomorrow after a week off, so pretty good about that. But beyond that, life is good. We also have Chris. How you doing, Chris?
Yeah, brilliant, mate. Good.
How was your first foray in live streaming Spartans?
It was tough, to be honest. I was a wee bit disappointed on Tuesday, but I think most clubs have had a few issues here and there. Tuesday was tough, and I can't believe what the mistake was. It was the wrong USB port. I don't know if I've actually told you this, guys, but it was a USB 2 rather than a USB 3, so the camera wasn't coming. Nippy. We had a few audio issues yesterday. I think it was mainly because OBS, I think the mic from the laptop or whatever it was echoing, obviously. So we had a few issues there, but apart from that, I think the stream went well, and it's been interesting. But certainly, I think it's trial and error, a lot of practice and whatnot, and it's good to see a lot of the clubs obviously trying this streaming as well.
I think I've seen a lot more clubs in the Lowland League, and certainly some teams in the West and East doing that. Mozza, you for another stream on Saturday down at Vale?
Aye, and again, it was a learning experience. Couple of issues early on. First away streaming, the first one we did in battery power. Didn't quite make the full 90 because of that, it turns out. Because basically I had this big hunking battery thing that was meant to power everything that didn't quite make it. Got to about 87 minutes, so missed one goal, but it was alright, we had it on Twitter. But aye, it's just part and parcel of it. Like, we are kind of working out our issues. I think we've now got everything pretty much nailed down, thankfully. But it's been good because, like, obviously myself, Chris, other boys that are out there have been chatting away, helping each other with it as well. So I think, on the whole, a lot of our clubs are putting SPFL clubs to shame at this point. So I think we're doing, obviously, the best we can in the circumstances, but it seems to be going down pretty well with folk watching it.
Well, I think it's an outlet, isn't it, for teams for people to see their teams play, and it's certainly a lot of clubs at our level are doing it for free. I mean, some people are charging, but by and large, it's a free service, and you can sit in your house and watch a game for free on a Saturday afternoon when you're at your own club. So it's better than nothing, isn't it?
I mean, it helps when you've got 10 goals that you show, no, but
we spoiler for later, that is, Derek.
Exactly. But just a shout out to our sponsors, the Soccer Shop Direct. Follow them on Twitter at the Soccer Shop D, or check out their website on www.thesoccershopdirect.com for your teamwear and football equipment needs. All right, so let's look at the fixtures for the Lowland League on Saturday. We'll start off with the match between Bonnyrigg and Gretna 2008. It was a 3-0 victory for Bonnyrigg. Chris, just give us a run through on that match.
Yeah, certainly. I was obviously at New Dundas Park, and it was a 100 competitive appearance for Neil Martinuk and 200 competitive appearance for Kieran Mageke. So we shout out for them boys. I believe that I think both teams, it was fairly open, sort of the first half hour. Bonnyrigg did take the lead before half time, basically 39th minute. Fine finish from the skipper Johnny Stewart into the bottom right corner. Good to see Johnny Stewart back in the team. I think he had a lot of injury issues last season. Obviously, it's always great to have your captain in amongst the goals. And going into the second half, Gretna did have a chance to equalise. The 47th minute was a penalty to Gretna, but it was a save by Mark Weir. And it got a wee bit worse for Gretna on the 67th. They went down to 10 men. Brian Gilfillan sent off for a second bookable offence after a foul on Lee Curry. And just a minute later, on the 68th minute, Bonnyrigg added a wee bit to Gretna's misery by doubling their lead. The ball was turned into his own goal by captain Joe Jackson, unfortunately. So two captains there, one on the good side and one on the bad side of the goals. And it was 2-0 to Bonnyrigg Rose. And it was sealed on the 90th minute. Dean Hoskins finds Jordan Smith, who fooled the keeper and slots home for a 3-0. Quite routine, I would say, but I think most people would expect Bonnyrigg to beat Gretna 2008, especially at home. It's a tough start for Gretna, I would suggest.
Aye, the thing is, they kind of went for potentially equalising to going down to 2 men and 2-0 down, and that's game over. So it could have been a very different game if they scored that penalty, but it's obviously been a really tough run of fixtures for them. I still think that they'll come good with the squad they've got and so on. But I mean, they've got BSC next weekend, albeit a home game, but it's not going to get any easier in the next week or two. So we'll see how they get on. But it's a pretty solid result then for Rose. It's kind of what we expected for them.
3 wins out of 3 for Bonnyrigg as well.
Yeah, it's kind of what I expected, to be honest. I mean, a lot of people are obviously talking about East Kilbride and Kelly Hearts, but Bonnyrigg for me are still going to be up there. And I did tout them as my possible favourites this season, so no shocks for the likes of myself.
All right, next game on the official list was Callie Braves versus Berwick Rangers. It was a 1-0 win for Berwick. We'll come to you, Mozza.
Berwick continue their really promising start to the season this time round, travelling to Alliance Park to face Callie Braves, and the lone goal coming for Berwick was again a free kick. Jordan Sinclair doing the business again. This time a low one into the corner for the edge of the area, but they've clearly been working on those set pieces, and it's come through dividends for them because that's 2 1-goal wins courtesy a set piece play. So it's something to keep an eye on as we move on in the season if teams try to combat that in some way. But other than that, for the reports for people who were watching the game on the app, and again, Callie Braves, shout out to them, doing a cracking job with the live streaming as well. It seemed a pretty even game. It could have gone either way, but Berwick took their chance in the end.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Berwick actually. I watched their opener against Vale and obviously saw their game midweek against Spartans, and I think the majority, we'll probably see this with a lot of teams, the first half might be a wee bit sort of flat, but Berwick's, Jordan Sinclair, one of the signings, one of the new guys, obviously very experienced, and he scored a cracker against Vale, and I'm assuming this one's maybe just as good in terms of his free kick, but yeah, a good win for Berwick. It's the sort of results that they need, I think, when they come up, against the sort of tougher sides. That's when they'll see if we can maybe push and progress. But no drop points against the likes of Vale or Callie Braves yet. So interesting.
Our next game was Ellis Park. It was Silver Strollers versus Kelty. It was a 3-2 victory for Kelty.
Strollers took the lead quite early, actually. It was Ali Faye, the big man, giving Strollers the lead there. But just before half-time, Kelty Hearts did equalise, 37th minute. A low-driven shot by skipper Michael Tidser from 20 yards out finds the bottom corner, and Kelty are level. Going into the second half, Kelty did take the lead on the 52nd minute. It was a penalty slotted away by Callum Higginbottom. The penalty was given after Easton was brought down in the civil box. And they sealed the win pretty much. 67th minute, it was a third for Kelty. Ross Philp, this time drills at home from a Boyle cross. Civil did get another goal, but it was probably a wee bit too late on. But I tell you what, they definitely put up a sort of fight. Christy Gillis Park, we're kind of used to Civil, obviously, playing well against Kelty. I think from a prediction, I thought this was maybe going to be a wee bit tighter, and perhaps Kelty might have even dropped points, but a decent win away from home, I would say.
I think Kelty will be delighted to get the 3 points for the sounds of it. I mean, Civil obviously had a really decent result midweek with BSC visiting, got a draw. Potentially might have thought they could have had more for that game as well. So it's a really tough double header, 2 games in a week, and they'll be disappointed not to have more than a point to show for it, I think. But Kelty, again, they've done what they need to do there. So early days, it seems like the teams that are challenging for the title are doing just the necessary at this point, which is all they need to do, but we've not seen any kind of massive results this yet. So that's promising for the league as a whole, I think, in terms of the standard and competitiveness as well.
Yeah, and just on that note as well, I don't know, there wasn't much chat if the penalty was soft or not, Derek. I know there's a bit of a history of the sort of top teams getting penalties at Strollers. I know BSC had a few complaints midweek, I noticed, which I think were, in fairness, a wee bit unfounded. I don't know if you saw the clip.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened, to be honest, because the clip doesn't really show it as strongly as Michael thought it was a penalty. I'm assured that there was a push, but hey, it would have been soft, I reckon. But that's the thing, BSC never got that penalty, so you never know. They might not be getting big penalties at Christy Gillis anymore.
Well, Churchy was a wee bit quiet on Kelly during the weekend, so I'm assuming the penalty was justified for Kelly there.
They don't tend to be shy telling you when it isn't a penalty in their opinion, so I assume so.
Just on Callum Higginbotham and his penalty taking skills. I remember him against for Kilmarnock rather scoring one of those little Panenkas, the little chips. So if you're on the penalties for Kelly, I hope to see a Panenka coming pretty soon from Callum on the penalty spot.
He's been beaten to by Gretna, hasn't he? They scored a Panenka last week, if I remember right.
That's true, actually. Yeah. Of course, we talked about that last week on the pod. All right, looking ahead to the next match on the fixtures, this was a thumping. It was W Star versus East Stirlingshire, and it was a 4-0 win for Shire.
Bit of an eye-opener, because I was really impressed with Albany a week ago now, but they've had a couple of pretty poor results since. So 4-0 East Stirlingshire at Aylcroft started off with 38 minutes on the clock. Greg Wild scoring header at the back post after a cracking move. But it stayed that way pretty tight all the way through the last 10 minutes. And then Shire made it safe with goal after goal. So 83 on the clock, Kearney made it 2-0, side-footed in from the 6-yard box after good work on the wing for Peggy. Just a minute later, Peggy scored a 25-yard screamer, pretty much straight for kick-off. I'm looking forward to seeing the highlights of that if they come along. And 2 minutes after that, so 3 goals in basically 5 minutes. It was a penalty this time. Dishington brought down in the box, and Greg Wild did the necessary to make it 4-0. So on the face of that scoreline might not tell the whole story for Star. They were right in the game all the way through till the last 10 minutes, going into the last 10 minutes, but Shire have basically kept the throttle down when they had the chance, and they've taken advantage of weakness at the very end, so they'll be delighted.
Yeah, and it's a good start. It's a good start for East Stirlingshire. I think they've won all 3 of their opening games, and Dell and the lads will be delighted at that. But I think it's important to know that this could have been a potential game that Shire might have drawn last season. They seem to drop points against like Dalbeattie and Callie Braves and whoever else sort of to the lower end. So good momentum builder for Shire there.
Definitely, especially if they're 1 goal in the lead in the last 10 minutes, those were the kind of games they were liable to drop points in last year.
Also, they're kind of defensively solid as well. They've not even conceded a goal so far into the game, so looking like they've got bags of potential for the season ahead. All right, next game was East Kilbride versus Gallifreyan Rovers. It was a 3-0 victory for East Kilbride at K Park.
Speaking about defences, just before we get into this game, guys, obviously had a wee bit of not a dig as such, but I posted out that half the team of East Kilbride's full of defenders. They'd signed a few other guys recently in the last couple of weeks. So yeah, they won 3-0 at K Park against Gallifreyan Rovers. Tough one for Gala, obviously coming away to TK early in the season. I think it's been equally the same with maybe the likes of Gretna. I think Gala have had a bit of a tough start. It was a penalty in the 21st minute. Smiths breaks into the box where he has his heels clipped, and Craig Malcolm stepped up to give EK the opener. Second half, corner whipped in by Kyle Wilkie, cleared at the back post by Gala at the 18-yard line. Smiths puts it back into the area where it falls to the foot off. I think that's Ricky Miller, who slots it home through a congested 6-yard box. I think Ricky Miller scoring against his former team there. And they sealed it on the 85th minute. It was Anton Brady with a free kick into the box and finds Craig Malcolm at the front post, who nods the ball home for his second of the day, and EK's third, and it was 3-0. And it's good to see Craig Malcolm in amongst the goals. I think that's, went on about defenders there. They obviously have a pretty solid team, probably one of the favourites for the title. But if they have Craig Malcolm scoring, we know what he can obviously do, Derek, in terms of his goal scoring. He's the sort of poster child for the official Catchup's banner from years ago, and he's certainly a goal scorer. If he can keep that momentum up, EK will certainly be in amongst everyone's expectations for the title.
Aye, scoring goals is just what he does. He's a talisman, and obviously Kilby will be delighted to get him going again. I should point out, we do need to give Ricky credit. It was Ricky. Don't take that away from him. He doesn't get that many goals. I'm reliably informed this week he does listen to us as well, so fair play to you. We're not going to take that credit away for you if you're tuning in this week, Ricky. But cracking result. Can't really say much more than that. Like, potential banana skin. Gala's a team that are capable of taking points, and they didn't really get a look at.
Next up was the new boys from the league this season, Bonus United. They were away to Edinburgh University. It was a 4-0 victory away from home.
Aye, again, Bonus's really impressive start to the season continues apace. Edinburgh Uni have had by kind of the flip side, a pretty tough start, so they'll be keen to get moving. It took 43 minutes to get a first goal here, though. Trialist centre-back, netting from a Stevenson free kick. The ball was adjudged to cross the line by the officials, despite the home defence feeling like they'd managed to clear it off the line. So one of those VAR type situations that we don't have at this level. And from there, Bowness took control and it was Locke causing all sorts of issues down the wings. Firstly, crossing in for Xander Miller to tap in, and then finding Chris Donnelly to nod in to make it 3-0 with 15 minutes remaining. And McFarlane was the man to help bring the game to a close, crossing in to find Miller to get a second goal. Couldn't miss, basically, point blank range. And yes, Bowness will be delighted. We did kind of in the preview podcast we did before the season, we essentially said we don't really know how they're going to adjust, if they're going to be challengers or comfortably top half. I think we agreed that they'll be right up there, but maybe no title challengers. But might need to revisit that if they keep going at this kind of pace.
Yeah, another great start for Bowness, and I think at the moment it's still a wee bit too early to tell. I don't think it's as open as we first thought, though, I would say.
Aye.
Right, next game on the fixture list was the Spartans versus University of Stalin. It was a 3-1 win for University of Stalin. Chris, you were there. Just give us your thoughts.
It was a decent game. I can't take anything away from Stalin Uni. I thought they were class, to be honest. It was kind of what I was expecting. These games are always quite close. I know there's a sort of tendency in the Lowland League for maybe the likes of, probably not Spartans, but likes of maybe Berwick or East Stirlingshire to think, Stirling Uni and Edinburgh Uni might be a bit walkover, but I've been really impressed with Stirling Uni. I've managed to spy a few of their games. I saw them just before the season kicked off against Callie Braves, and they won 4-0 at Alliance Park. So I was expecting a tight game, a competitive game, and Stirling Uni took the lead. I think the sort of first 15 minutes. Robbie McGill, who's really impressed me at Stirling Uni, he put a ball in for Jamie Penker, opened the score in for Stirling Uni, and to be honest, it was I would say it was quite a physical game. I think both teams were a wee bit niggly at each other. Mikey Allen did get what I would probably say was a bit of a weird yellow card. He got cautioned for what looked like a decent sliding tackle on Penker, funny enough, and it sort of, I guess it put I'll probably talk more about the referee soon, but it kind of did ruin it a wee bit. There was a penalty. I think it was a clear one. Blair Atkinson put it in for the equaliser on the sort of half-hour mark. It was a decent penalty. I don't think Ben Fry had much chance. It was quite high into the corner. It was a really decent one. Cammy Dawson had a fantastic chance, but he just sort of slotted it wide. He was through, but at this sort of point in the game, it was quite end-to-end. I think Stirling Uni had chances. Spartans had chances. But it did go in at half-time 1-1. When they were back underway, it was almost a second for Spartans. Blair Atkinson, he sort of pressed into Stirling, and he tried to kind of do his best. I think the way I sort of called it on commentary was the fact that I think after the goal or the penalty that he scored, he's kind of upped his game a wee bit. It kind of gave him a bit of confidence. But sort of the 57th minute mark was probably where the drama or the referee sort of comes into it a wee bit more. It was a drama as Stirling got a penalty and Spartans were down to 10 men. Straight red card for captain Adam Corbett. What had happened basically was that he got the wrong side of the Stirling Uni player, and I don't know, you guys will probably know the new rules, or the last man. You have to make no attempt at playing the ball, as well as, I think, goal scoring opportunity. And I thought the red card was a wee bit harsh. There was a wee bit of bemusement at that. But to be fair to Connor Doan, he stepped up, he scored, and Stirling Uni were in the lead there. So 10 men Spartans, and they kind of changed the game a wee bit. I think Bolo came on, Scott Maxwell came on, and Archie Meekinson replaced Dan Bauer, Craig Dawson, and McGrory Irvin. Later on a wee bit, Joe Tate came on for Russell as well. There was a big shout for a Spartans penalty. Archie Meekinson sort of cut in to on the left. I thought at the time it was a penalty, but looking back, I think he might have just been out-muscled. But certainly, more drama to the game, and this was in the last 10 minutes as well. And it was another red card for Spartans. They went down to Ning. Mikey Allen, who obviously had a wee bit of a debatable yellow card previously, got a straight red for pretty much a similar thing to Adam Corbett. It was last man. He sort of got a wee bit on Ewan Baird. Again, I think the ball was bouncing away to the right. So was it a goal scoring opportunity? Not for me. I think it was, maybe a second yellow, fair enough, but a straight red, not that I would think. And to be fair to Stirling Uni, they scored from the resulting free kick. It was saved by Carswell originally, but the rebound is tucked away by Lewis Kennedy. A fantastic win from Stirling Uni. I thought it was well deserved. I thought they were excellent, especially like Robbie McHale and Jamie Penker. I think Chris Geddes had mentioned that he was the first time in a few years that they had a forward score in the first sort of 3 games of the league. So if he's looking like a goal scorer for Stirling Uni, it's going to be fantastic for them. But I do go back to the ref, really. I think he had a bit of a shock over the sending offs. I don't know if you guys have seen the highlights, but under the new rules, especially Adam Corbett's one, I think that might have changed the game. I think it was open up until that point.
It didn't really look like a sending off when I watched it, I'll be honest, but I don't know, it's one of these, the laws are so based on kind of the referee's perception now, that even if you think the referee's made a mistake, he can explain his way out of it, if that makes sense. Like, the open to interpretation is what I'm trying to say, that one man's red card could be another man's yellow card dead easy. They're not the clearest, and I don't really think it's a positive step they've made with the changes, in all honesty.
To be honest, I think we've talked about referees. I think we've almost done about 80 episodes of this, Derek. We've talked about referees maybe 4 or 5 times. I think he had a shocker, I really do. And it's not, I don't think we've overly done it with criticism of refs, but I honestly feel that referee ruined it. I'm very aware of that referee as well. He's had a few other games that I've seen him ref. I don't want to call out anyone, but I don't think he's, from what I've seen, he does a really good job. Maybe too harsh, but at the end of the day, we've talked about it previously, Derek. These are the sort of things that could rob teams and rob players of potentially a title challenge, or potentially, maybe even worse, relegation. So we have to, the way I see it is, refs should have the same responsibility as anyone else that's up for criticism.
Absolutely. I mean, we can't be scared to kind of call out poor performance if it's there. And you're the man that's seen the game, so we'll go with what you're telling us. But obviously, if you're part of Spartans and a referee you feel like has cost you a chance of winning that game there, and Spartans we've talked about are trying to get back on the front foot again this season and move up again towards the kind of higher reaches of the Lowland League, it's a bit galling, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's even on the sides. I think if that had happened to Stirling Uni on the opposite side of that, I think I would have felt the exact same because of the new. I think you're right in some instances. I think, but there was 2 examples there. Had it just been the one, fair enough. But there was actually 2 examples of the same laws being applied, in my opinion, wrongly. 2 straight red cards. Spartans going down to 9 men. But again, I think it has to be looked at. If there's confusion of any of these sort of rules, then they need to help out the refs. They need to. Yeah. They obviously need help if there is some confusion there. But as I say, I think the penalty for Archie Meekinson, I think that probably was what you were describing there, maybe a 50-50. Sometimes they're given, sometimes they're not. But the 2 sending offs for me were a wee bit of a shocker, really.
Just to kind of be fair on the flip side, we need to give massive credit to Uni, don't we? Because whatever Chris has been doing to get them prepared for the season, they've hit the ground running. He's smashed it so far, Chris Geddes. So Uni look a really, really exciting side this year. I'm looking forward to seeing them. And we'll see where they go, but there's no reason they can't get involved in the conversation or kind of, top half at the very least.
I love Uni. I really do. I love seeing them do well. I've got probably all the Lowland League teams have probably got a massive soft spot for Stalin Uni. So it was great. I was really chuffed with them. I obviously saw a wee post from Mark Adams yesterday as well, who said it's great not being 10th because I think they're up to 7th now. Brilliant start to the season. And despite what I said about the referee, I think full credit to Stalin Uni. I think had it been even, they had probably it could have been the same result, 100%.
All right, looking at the final game of the fixtures, it was that 10-goal thriller involving, I like to say, Moses Mob, BSC, against Vale away at Victoria Park. 6-4 victory for BSC.
If you're not a BSC fan, now might be the time to go and grab a cuppa and let me just try to wind my way through this game, because obviously there's quite a lot to talk about. And believe it or not, there could have been more than 10 goals as well. If you see the highlights, there was chances that weren't taken. It was just a wild game. But basically, it was quite a heavy pitch, which didn't help either team, I don't think, defensively in Innerleithen, because both sides they both kind of approached it a different way. Vale were playing quite direct football and getting success with putting balls over the top of the defence or through the defence, trying to get mainly Laidlaw on the shoulder right through. BSC were largely attacking down the right wing. New signing, Daz Christie, coming in from Pollock. We got to announce that on stream as well, so that was something different. But Ross Lyon had a cracking game as well, kind of on the right mainly, but veering inside. Lewis Bell got a deserved start right back, and he was basically playing as a right wing back the whole game. But just to run through what happened, it all started with Vale getting a penalty. Declan Fitzpatrick was adjudged to have brought down a Vale attacker from a set piece just on the side of the pitch. You've seen them given, you've seen them no given. I don't think there were too many arguments, to be honest. So we'll say the ref got the spot kick decision right. Jonathan Grotland stepped up, made no mistake, decent penalty, top of the net. And then 2 minutes later, Vale actually got their second goal. So it was a counter-attack, managed to win the ball back in midfield for BSC, immediately direct, straight up, 3-on-2, and the initial strike was saved by Lyle Livesey, but it broke through to, I believe it was Hall that managed to finish it. But at that point, you feared the worst, to be honest, conceding 2 goals in 3 minutes. BSC we'd started the half pretty well, just hadn't they found a decent final ball or decent final cross. And luckily, from a very biased point of view, we managed to get a goal back relatively quickly. Ryan Tierney opening his account with a cracking goal as well. Basically, he managed to get the ball to feet, a wee touch past the defender, rounded him on the other side, and fired a low strike, and it went under Ben McGinley, his near post. Ben will probably be a wee bit disappointed not to save it in reflection, but 2-1. And going into the break, BSC managed to get an equaliser, which was key in the end. Numerous chances had came and went, kind of half chances more than proper clear-cut chances. But it was Daz Christie made it. Great run from Christie, forced McGinley to commit and go for the ball, but he only succeeded in taking it his own defender. And instead of trying to shoot from about 25 yards out with the keeper out his nets, Christie was really composed, took his time, squared it to Alfie, and he couldn't miss. Basically, 6 yards tap in, 2-2 at half time, and whatever paint was ripped off the walls at half time by Swifty worked again, because it started off, BSC were going down the hill is the other thing in the second half, and straight away we're on the front foot. It was Ryan Tierney within a minute and a kick-off that had forced McGinley into action again. Ross Lyon got the rebound but hit the post, and that was a sign of things to come, because Andy Geoghegan with the next attack was fouled in the box. BSC this time getting the penalty, and Ross Lyon stepped up to bag his first goal for the club. 56 minutes on the clock, a lovely ball for Geoghegan, who had begun to take control of the midfield, found Daz Christie in the edge of the box, and he turned provider again, setting up Ross Lyon to fire in his second goal of the day. And 5 minutes later, it was 5 for BSC. Straight for Alfie Aguiman, bounced off the post. He loves hitting the post, this boy. See if he can just find a way to put it on target on the post. But before Vale could actually clear it, Ross Lyon managed to just steal his way into the box, got the ball, and made it a hat-trick by prodding home on the rebound. But straight for the kickoff, Vale scored to make it 5-3. So we were literally still describing the goal on the live stream. Blinking, you'd miss it. It was just a direct ball straight between the two centre-backs. Laidlaw won his battle with McCormack, got around the keeper, and that was it, 5-3. And that obviously raised their tails because they could have folded if it was 5-2 and kind of the game had played out for there. But straight away, it was wave and wave attack. It was basically basketball at one point. Just each team was just giving up and defending at this point. And it was 5-4 in the 69th minute. And Laidlaw again getting his hat trick this time. Again winning his battle with the centre back, bringing the ball down well and slotting past Afsey. And it was anyone's game at that point. Vale did begin to tire, I think, a little bit more than BSC did. And right on the kind of final reaches of the game, after just stramashes everywhere, 90th minute, Daz Christie managed to make a run after the ball was won back midfield by BSC, clean through and goal, shook off defenders and stuck it by the keeper to make it 6-4 full time. One of the most enjoyable and mental games of football I've ever had the pleasure of watching. It was great fun. Less said about the defending, the better.
Yeah. You know, I actually was quite impressed with Vale. I know they got beat the first league game against Berwick Rangers, but certainly Johnny Grotland, I thought, done well. I think the problem last season with Vale that they had was obviously the problems trying to score goals. I think their final third play was certainly troubling for them. I think they tried to tried to overcomplicate things rather than keeping it simple. But the three young lads on loan from Bonnyrigg Rose, Aaron Laidlaw, for example, and I think Vale, we can probably safely say they have a much better team this season.
Laidlaw was really impressive. Really impressive. I think Grotland kind of came in and out of the game. He didn't have too much an influence, but Laidlaw is just a finisher. And he gets himself in cracking positions to be found as well. And what you said there about being complicated, they weren't. Ando's got them well drilled. They know what they're doing. They attack direct and they attacked at pace on the counter, and it worked really well for them. So I was very impressed, I must admit.
Sounds like your new loan signing from Pollock, Darren Christie's, had a big impact in the game.
He did. He had a brilliant game, Daz. Settled in instantly. I can't say enough about the way he played. He's going to be a massive player for us. I think if he stays in good nick and stays fit, keeps playing that way, we're going to score plenty of goals because he's just he was just a master provider, basically. He set up 4 or 6 goals ultimately. So I'm very, very happy with bringing him in, given that Pollock have decided not to play this season.
We sidetracked there, I guess, to you, Ben, on the west of Scotland. A loan signing from Pollock.
Yeah, I've got issue with this completely. Darren Christie, an absolutely phenomenal player, played at Bees last season. Signed for Pollock in the summer there. I had him in my team of the year for the catch-up. Absolute tremendous winger. I'd have loved him in my team at Cowan if we could have had him. But given everything that's going on in the West and the idea that clubs have had to vote on whether or not they're going to play or withdraw, Pollock being a team that withdrew from the league, which is fair play. I've got no issues with any team who wants to withdraw. That's a club decision. The club know better than me what they want to do. However, Pollock in their statement did say that they were looking at it on a player safety and kind of welfare basis, along with the financial implications of playing. However, now if you have some sort of concern for player safety and welfare, why are you sending a player on loan, one of your own players on loan to another team, if you've got concerns around player safety? I don't understand that Pollock have done it with Darren Christie. They've also loaned out Stephen McDevitt to Ross Vale, who also play in the same league as Pollock. Is it something to do with Pollock perhaps not being able to keep their players safe, but maybe Ross Vale and BSC can. I don't know. It just seems a ridiculous thing to do from a club.
Publicly, it looks like that, doesn't it? It does look bad on Pollock, and I guess any other team in the West that has withdrawn, that potentially loans players to other clubs. I mean, in public view, in my personal opinion, I take it as, are they trying to say that they can't keep their players safe, but other clubs can? It just doesn't ring true to what they're saying, really.
Just to play devil's advocate, because this will be raised by anyone listening that might be of the alternative viewpoint. What's the club meant to do if the player wants to play, despite the fact that the club have withdrawn? Would it be understandable in those circumstances?
Well, they could leave the club, surely. They could just actually, on a permanent basis, leave the club.
But this is true. They could cancel the contract, couldn't they? Clearly, Pollock didn't want to do that because the boy is a fantastic player. So, they're trying to protect an asset, I guess.
I think that's a key point, is that they are trying to protect the asset. The other thing is perhaps they don't want to see clubs that other competitors, if you like, in the league perhaps strengthened by bringing in their guys. So loan them out to BSC, for example, or Ross Vale. Like the one with Ross Vale, you see it as a strengthening for Ross Vale. They take a player who's probably a good player for Pollock and used to play for Ross Vale, for example, and he's going back there. But I guess as it comes down, is it something to do with money? Then there's a question there that perhaps those guys are happy to play for either lesser money or no money at all. It depends obviously on the club circumstances. But I just find it a whole it's a strange move from any club. And I think the other thing, to give Paul their dues, it won't be the last player to move from a withdrawn club, because I think you'll see boys who want to play. I think I've heard some rumours already that Talbot are looking to loan some guys out to some clubs, and you see some of the names that have been linked with. You maybe think to yourself, why would that player want to play for a team like that, a kind of lower team to Talbot? But perhaps the boy just wants to play football, and that's fine. And I think they're all adults; they can make their own decisions. But I just think the whole loan thing is just it's a strange circumstance, and it's certainly expect to see more of it happen. There's been a few players on social media the last kind of week and a half since teams have withdrawn, kind of running their mouth a little bit about withdrawing. So I look forward to seeing those guys turn up at other clubs, because I'll be the first person to call them boys out when I see that happening, because I'm sure that'll be something that will happen fairly soon.
That's an interesting one, Ben, because as much as we're obviously sort of shining the light on clubs that have withdrawn and now they're loaning their players out, there could be some criticism coming on the players' point of view, because if they've, I agree with the decision or whatever, and I'm not going to play this season, and then suddenly they're playing at another club, it's not a great look. It really isn't a great look, and it does leave them open to maybe guys like us or the Pie and Bovril crowd for criticism, really.
Just shout out to the Pie and Bovril crowd. I posted about Dats Christie signing for BSC in the West of Scotland thread last night, and no one has bitten yet. I was very, very disappointed at the Pie and Bovril crowd not even biting at all to that comment. But yeah, I'm not going to name names on players who have been running their mouth on social media until they sign for someone else. But I think you'll see some of these guys who have maybe been too quick to make comment about their clubs pulling out, and then they'll sign elsewhere fairly soon.
By the way, side note, Pollock, if anyone for the club is listening, please do feel free to release Christie. We'll more than happily take that as permanently. Just saying.
Well, I guess it depends what kind of contract he's on. If he's only on a 1 year deal, then he's going to be free.
But this is true.
For you guys next year, if he's a good year. So
a lot of these boys getting loaned out will be in 1 year deals, because it's very rare to get multi-year deals at our levels. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Imagine, say for example, like Talbot, they loan out somebody just in the assumption that they'll come back for the next season. What if they enjoy their football more when they're away somewhere? If they get a loan to a Lowland team, higher level, and they think, do you know what, I quite like it up here, I'm going to stay here. There's a whole different can of worms there to be opened, I feel like. And it's going to be glorious to see all the kind of fallout for it as well.
I think you'll start to see some guys retire. I think we've already seen Gordon Pope, Talbot left back, has retired because he wants to play for Talbot and Talbot only. They're not playing, so that makes sense. A good player, but certainly expect to see more. Not just at the top league. I think there'll be more players down the conferences, for example, in the West that will move to clubs that are playing because their team obviously aren't in action. So yeah, it's an interesting one, but certainly one we'll keep an eye on for sure on this podcast, and we'll be quick to discuss it, I'm sure, if there's any more. But I think the other thing about the West as well is that fixtures are now out for the West of Scotland League starting, which is I think I've been very critical of what's happened in the West over the last 3 or 4 months, but now a positive thing is the fixtures are out. We can get down to playing football, and that's really, really exciting, and looking forward to that. I think most teams are going to start their competition on the 24th. Some teams, ourselves, Cowan and Rutherglen, play in the Soccer Shop Direct Challenge Cup in the first round. However, the league actually starts proper on the 21st, so it's great. We're finally getting fixtures. The conferences have been set up, are rejigged again, so we're really looking forward to getting going, and we can just talk about football again, because it's been all about bureaucracy and red tape and rules and all sorts of crap for the last 3 or 4 months. So we'll get the football going.
And on a positive note, shout out to Kenny, who's managed to turn around those fixtures again after all the upheaval after the initial set. So God love you. You've had some couple of months, Kenny. Great job getting all that done, mate.
Thankless task for sure. Yeah, well done.
Absolutely.
All right, let's look at the preview of the matches coming up. Start with it's the Spartans, that is in the Soccer Shop Challenge Cup. It's a 7:45 kickoff. Chris, do you think of Spartans' chances?
I think they're obviously decent. The thing about Canoe, me and Kev spoke about it when we were discussing East of Scotland. Canoe, a wee bit of a surprise. I don't know a lot about their team, but they seem to be picking up results in the conference. So two levels up's always a bit of a concern, but it's a cup match and it can happen. But I'd probably still fancy Spartans to win that, certainly, especially at Ainsley Park.
I think I'd go with that as well.
All right, next game, Berry Rangers versus East Kilbride in the Lowland League. Who do you fancy there? East Kilbride, I think, looking probably favourites in that game.
I'm really intrigued by this one because Berwick's had a pretty solid start. They're clearly good in defence as well. I would still think Kilby would win it, but it wouldn't really surprise me if they draw points here.
East Kilbride's definitely favourites for me. I think Berwick have sort of scraped by a wee bit. I think it's fair to say in terms of 1-0 victories over the last 3, and they lost to Spartans 1-0. So I think East Kilbride will just outscore them, and they should win that one. Next
up is the Boness after their great start at home to Callie Braves.
I feel like that's a home win. Braves are still kind of getting going. They do have a great strike force if they can get moving, but on the evidence of the game so far, I think you'd be mad to bet against Boness.
I think from what I've heard, I don't know I don't know where I got this from, but I did read it somewhere. I believe Ross McNeil's injured, so he's a big miss for Caledonian Braves. I'm not 100% sure what Jack Smith's situation is either, so they are missing the forward line. I would, on the way things have went so far, home win for Boness, I would say.
All right, next game, Cumbernauld Colts versus Edinburgh Uni. Both teams haven't got a win on the board yet. Do you think it's time for one of the teams to get a result?
I think it's time for the Colts to get going, because the squad they've got, they should be getting points, in my opinion. I think they've had a pretty poor start. So if you're going to get points, no disrespect to Edinburgh Uni, but this is a game you'd want to get because Uni are rooted to the bottom of the table and they've been struggling early doors. So one of them's going to get moving. You kind of would think Colts would be the more likely.
Yeah, Colts at home, always a tough ask, big pitch at Broadwood. It's interesting that obviously I think we kind of sort of earmarked the Colts and the Callie Braves for our maybe dark horses or whatever to be better this season, but both of them have been quite tough starts in terms of results. But yeah, I would expect Cumbernauld Colts to win this one.
It's Gallifreyan Rovers versus Civil Service Strollers at Nidderdale. I think maybe possibly a draw in the cards here.
Possibly. I was quite impressed with Strollers this week though with the 2 games they've just had. Nidderdale usually is a really tough place to go, but I don't know. Gala kind of struggled there I might go for Strollers in that one.
Yeah, I think Strollers for myself as well. Netherdale, as you mentioned, tough place to go, but again, tough start for Gala, and I think Strollers, they've had a few tough games against like BSC and Kelly, so I'll be interested. I think they'll want to get back to winning ways, I guess.
Next one is getting 2008 versus BSC at Radial Park. Nice and early start then for you, Moz. Trip down to Gretna.
Aye, it'll be a very early start. BSC to win an 11 goal thriller. There you go.
Just try to trump yourself from last week, guy.
Aye.
BSC for me as well, I think.
All right, next game on the fixture list on Saturday's Kelty Hearts versus Derby Star. I imagine a convincing victory for Kelty, was it?
I think so. Aye. If Kelty's going to win the league or challenge to win the league, can drop points in these kind of games. Started really well last year, if I remember rightly. Chris will be able to kind of remind us, hopefully, when they visited New Central. But I fancy Kelty by a couple of goals there.
Yeah, usually a few tight affairs between Kelty and Derby Star. It depends how it's played out, I guess, but you would expect, New Central Park, Kelty to win that one.
All right, next game is University of Stalin versus Vale. University of Stalin although had a really good start to the league so far, surprised a few people, expecting to get a victory there.
Yeah, Uni Stalin for me, definitely. Haven't seen them recently. Haven't seen Vale recently, at the start of the season. I think they're better, but back at home for Uni of Stalin, I'd like to see them win this, to be honest. Maybe heart over head, I guess.
Nah, I'd say that's head as well. I fancy Uni of Stalin to win it. As impressed as I was with Vale, I just think Chris has got them firing in all cylinders. So I'd be surprised not to see them take the 3 points here. I would also be surprised not to see Vale score right enough.
All right, moving back to the Soccer Shop Challenge Cup, it's Bonnyrigg Rose versus Newton Grange Star. Got to fancy Bonnyrigg here.
I think so. No fancy the chances of causing an upset, you'd imagine, but aye, the way Rhodes have started the season, be very surprised not to see them progress.
Yeah, Bonnyrigg as well for me, but I think that Newton Grange Star have a decent team this season. I know Craig O'Reilly's back at the club, and he's obviously a goal scorer, experience higher level and whatnot. But yeah, it should be a. Then again, like what I said about the Spartans game, it's a cup game, so you never know. But I would expect Bonnyrigg to be favourites, so certainly.
And just looking ahead to the rest of the games and the Soccer Shop Direct Challenge Cup, you get not Pollock versus Trent. I'm obviously get a bye there because Pollock have withdrawn. 3 Rovers versus Ormiston, Irvine Vicks versus St Anthony's, Genefield Swifts versus Lochgelly Albert, Socky versus Malot, Cowan Rangers. First competitive match for us this season is going to be an interesting game. Don't know much about Socky, to be honest, but I'm certainly looking forward. What do you guys know about Socky? Just to give me the 4-1-1.
Yeah, I know they're improved this year. I can tell you that much. Got quite a good relationship with Matthew. Does a lot of stuff down there, Matthew Allingworth. So, they're relatively confident, I'd say, about their prospects this year. So, okay, they're pretty kind of positive in their outlook, their chances this season. So we'll see how they go. But I still think the Buffs will be the favourites, but it should be a decent game.
Yeah. I think it's hit and miss with Socky so far in terms of results. They did get a really decent draw at home against Linlithgow Rose on Saturday, but I would having seen a wee bit of Kilwinning as well because of you, obviously Ben, with your streaming. I would probably expect Kilwinning to maybe get the win there.
Yeah, got a good side. I think last few games I've been playing against maybe I'd say tougher sides, and not in that they maybe have better quality, but kind of more kind of rougher tumble type squads like Drumchapel and Port Glasgow. So if we can play the football we know we can play, I think we've got a chance. But we never seem to get a bloody bye in these competitions. We always have to play from the first round. We never get the draw that gets us through to a bye at the second round. But anyway, move on. Next one's Broxburn Athletic versus Creetown. Thornton Hibs versus Rutherglen Glencairn. Drumchapel, they get a bye through. I think Dumbarton United have withdrawn. Vale Clyde versus East Kilbride Thistle. And the rest is Maple versus Vale Leven. And East Houses of Lily versus Lark Hall Thistle. And it's a bye for Carluke Rovers as Kilburnley have obviously pulled out. So first round of the cup action starts. Boys, looking forward to it. Yeah,
definitely. Obviously a lot of East versus West and East versus South and all this sort of stuff going on. So it's exactly what you want. It would have been great to have the likes of obviously Pollock and Auchinleck in the mix there, but It's a wee bit sad in terms of the West that these teams have withdrawn, but I tell you what, I think it's still going to be a cracking competition this season.
It always is a cracking competition. I think, especially now with all the West teams coming in, it's kind of, but you can't really argue it's the most prestigious cup in non-league at this point, and bringing West, East, Lowland, South all together. So you get some really interesting matchups that you would never normally see in this cup, which is always cracking. But I love it, and obviously we have won it in the past, so it's a tournament I quite enjoy playing in as well.
I think for me, it's the fact that it's competitive football starting. We've been playing pre-season friendlies for 7 weeks or something like that, I think it feels like now. We're just going to get some competitive football, something that means something, and hopefully go on a cup run for us. But yeah, certainly looking forward to getting the cup run. And also, I think that thing about getting to play East teams, it's something different for us as well in the West, that we're getting to play against these East teams again. So certainly looking forward to that. But that kind of brings us to the end of the podcast. Let's go through the quick plugs. We'll start with you, Moza.
At Moza Plays on Twitter and pretty much anywhere else, you'll find me on the same moniker, including Twitch for your live games, because we've got another one on Saturday away to Gretna. So, as Ben said, I'll be up early, bright and early on Saturday morning. On you go, Chris.
For myself, it's at Rampant FM on Twitter, and I'm sure you'll say it anyway, Ben, but obviously the Catchup can be found at Official Catchup and on Facebook and pretty much everywhere, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, just everywhere there's podcasts. Some sites I've not even heard of, so always good.
And I'll be on Twitter at Mr. Ben Grant. I'm also live streaming on Saturday for Quinnan versus Socky in the Cup out through in Socky, so looking forward to that. So if you want to watch, but I guess it'll be a competition in Moza with me versus you for the first time, because my games have always started earlier, so this will be the first time we'll be head to head. So
do you know what we might do? There is a way of putting a joint link out, so we might put it out for the Catch-Up account that you can watch both the Buffs and BSC games.
I tell you what, actually, that's a good idea, because I quite fancy the idea of watching BSC. I've not seen a lot of them, and Gretna as well, and it'd be good to watch, obviously, Socky and Kilwinning too, so I like that idea.
That's what we'll do. We'll get a multi-stream link sorted.
There we go. Multi-stream happening. So there we go. That's all for us this week on the Official Catch-Up. We'll be back next week with more Lowland League action, as well as probably West, and also we've got the East of Scotland episodes as well out there. Chris, you recorded one today?
Yeah, with Kevin Marshall. I think it went fairly well. Just standard. I think it's harder, obviously, at lower levels because they're not maybe as the information is not always there. But we try our best.
See you later.